welcome one and all to another edition of the Defo Show with Lubie here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network, brought to you by Water Cleanup of Florida. Are you a South Florida property owner with an insurance claim? Are you dealing with water, mold, or fire damage to your home or business? Are you having trouble locating a 5-star rated general contractor that is fully licensed, certified, and insured? If the answer to any of those questions is yes, then Water Cleanup of Florida is here for you 24 hours a day. With over 60 years of combined experience between Michael, Robert, George, and their team, they are prepared to handle any size property damage disaster. When any unexpected damage occurs to your home or business, you need specialized, fast, and reliable services. Water Cleanup of Florida will do that for you. They will handle impact and stress of all kinds when it comes to an unexpected disaster on your home or office. Their objective is to make the cleanup and insurance claim process painless and hassle-free. Water Cleanup of Florida is also a licensed general contractor. This is the thing to me that really puts them above everyone else, because not only their communication with you will be top-notch, which my wife and I were very happy to face ourselves when we did some work on our home, our townhouse, Water Cleanup of Florida. A lot of time when you work with service companies, you don't always hear from them. They're not always punctual. They're not always on it. Water Cleanup of Florida was in a way I never experienced in my life. But on top of that, they have general contractors. So they provide the A to Z service, one-stop shopping that busy homeowners and business owners require. Water Cleanup of Florida is now an authorized dealer of Eurocraft cabinets. So premier kitchen, bath, and laundry cabinetry, countertops, and other accessories are available for your viewing at their showroom in Boca Raton. Or, if you prefer to shop from your home or office, then Water Cleanup will send one of their design specialists to you with samples and products that fit your style and budget. Just call Michael anytime on his personal cell phone, 954-579-0356. If you have any questions, again, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 954-579-0356. The website, WCUFL.com. Check them out on the socials, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at Water Cleanup FL. Also, with over 85-star reviews, check them out on Google. Believe me, everything I've said will be backed up and more. Water Cleanup of Florida. If you have the schmutz, they have the guts. The Miami Heat wavered in their guts for a little bit there in the middle of the Boston Celtics series, but they finished strong Game 7 in dominant fashion. We talked with the great longtime Miami Heat player, longtime NBA player, current Detroit Pistons analyst, Grant Long, about the Miami Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals, and looked toward the Miami Heat versus the Denver Nuggets in the NBA Finals right here on the Defo Show with Lubie on the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubie Lubitz, and it's always a pleasure to welcome our next guest to the show, and we love this guy. I don't know exactly what Heat culture consisted of when he was an original member of the Miami Heat. I think it consisted of, marveling at the fact that Pat Cummings was getting all of these gorgeous babes on what was a relatively new South Beach. But we welcome to the program, now part of the Detroit Pistons broadcast team, the great Grant Long joins us here on the show. Grant, how are you, my friend?
I'm a lot better now, guys, and I know you are too. What a wonderful, wonderful evening we were all tuned in to last night. Man, we got treated to a heck of a game.
Yeah, we were saying the only thing that would have been better is if Pat Riley, had the satisfaction of knowing that Danny Ainge was still part of the franchise. But, I mean, he dusted himself off there, started straightening out the tie. I mean, like he was Red Auerbach lighting up a cigar in the old Boston Garden, with about 4 minutes to go in the game, finally conceding. But, there wasn't a person on the planet, I don't know how you felt about this Game 7, that after watching Boston somehow miraculously blow a lead and then come back and win Game 6 to send it back for a 7th game. We thought the Heat had a date with infamy, that they were going to go down with Chris Webber and Bill Buckner and Jackie Smith and all the others that had, had good careers or good seasons, whatever, and then what will only be remembered for what they did wrong.
Yeah, it sort of looked like that one, and you know what, but lean on Jimmy Butler, because he said, listen, we're going to win Game 7. I know sometimes that's just a lot of.
It looked like a Patrick Ewing guarantee. Yeah.
but hey, it sure did. I did not foresee. I did not foresee a runaway win in a Game 7 like we saw last night. And I don't think anybody, the Boston Celtics certainly did think that it would come to a runaway on their home floor in a Game 7. You could ask for a better scenario if you're the Boston Celtics. But at the end of the day, it just wasn't to be. Come on, it was what was the thing? 0 and 150 or 0 and 149. That
0
and
150.
Coming, yeah. So it just wasn't in the cards. It wasn't going to happen for them last night, and more so, it had everything to do with the Heat and less to do with the Boston Celtics.
Well, look, Grant, and it's why I like having you on. We were just talking with Ethan Skolnick, who covers the Heat, and we talked a lot about Game 7 for the most part and a little bit about the Nuggets. But I want to talk to you about Game 6 because you did play a long time in the league. So you faced a lot of different situations. And to me, as a fan, I'm not in it, but I watched that ending to Game 6, and I'm like, you're already going to Game 7 in Boston after losing a 3-0 lead. And then you really lost twice in that game because it felt like early they had lost. Then they came back. They had the lead with 3 seconds, forced Marcus Smart, a bad shooter, into a horrendous shot. Like, as a team, that's what you want there. Game's over. You're going to the finals. And Derek White, of all people, gets a clean offensive rebound and a putback. To me, as we watch sports, usually the team that loses that game, it's done. Like, there's no way you're coming back, going on the road to win a Game 7. The fact that this Heat team played like that in Game 7, to me, boggles my mind. And I just ask you, as a guy who was in this league, how the heck can you overcome something like that? Because to me, as a fan, I couldn't overcome it. But these guys, Spo on down, it acted like the minute that game ended, they forgot about it, and all they focused on was Game 7, and you saw that. And it looked like the Celtics had sort of just assumed they'd win because they won that moment, and he sort of laughed in their face.
I think thought on that, Lubie, and that is you're touching on one of them. That can be so deflating if you lose a game like that, particularly a Game 6 when you know that's a closeout game for you, and now you have to go to that opponent's home floor, the one that just beat you in miraculous fashion, so to speak. That can be very deflating. You could almost, I wouldn't say give up, but it would be very hard to muster up the energy to go to someone's home floor where there's certainly some statistics that support that it's difficult to win that game. So it's more difficult to win that Game 7 on the road. But when you're the Miami Heat, when you're a team, I wouldn't even say the Miami Heat, when you are a team that has depending on your team concept, your culture all season long, and the guys that got you there, you depended on, you know that mentally these guys are going to be strong. You know that night it was very deflating, but they were going to pick themselves back up, dust themselves off, and be ready for a Game 7. Because here's the thing that they knew. If they could beat the Boston Celtics. It was a matter, Boston had won 2 games at that point. Now they won 3. But the Heat never felt like they did not have an opportunity or were not better than the Boston Celtics. And I think they had that in their back pocket, that no matter what happened, we are the better team. And I think that's why they pulled out Game 7. They understood that they were the better team. They just needed to play and cover all aspects of it, and that's what they did in Game 7.
I mean, you saw some, unfortunately, bad basketball with the Pistons this year, a lot of it. But have you ever seen so many bricks hoisted by one team as Boston last night? And at what point, we have that clip with you about the chucker. At what point do you just beat the crap out of the guy that's still shooting from 35 feet when he's 1 for 9?
You know what, and that's today's NBA. It really is, guys. And that I was sitting there and I was saying there were so many other. You almost need to designate a guy on your team. Okay, we are in a 3-point shooting league right now, but sometimes I think every team that is going to participate in this volume 3-point shooting, you should designate 1 or 2 guys that when the team is not shooting well from the 3-point line, these guys come in and take those drives to the basket and get those deuces, because those plays are just see so many guys drive the ball to the basket and kick it out for 3-point shots. You need to designate a couple of guys that are just in to make layups, because those are opportunities to score, where the Boston Celtics continued to try to shoot the 3-point shot, and they were not effective at it. And they did not try another course of action. That's coaching to me, but that's also the players that are on the floor recognizing that that's not the avenue that we're going to impact the game with. The 3-point shot's not working tonight. Let's do something else. But they continue to try and knock down 3-point shots. And once you start to fall behind and you start to continue to miss, that's going to be difficult to overcome. And we saw that last night.
I think Scott Hastings shot the threes with more conviction. I mean, it seemed like Boston was just lobbing them up there, and I mean, it happens to players sometimes where even the pros, I would imagine, where you're just hoping it goes in. And, meanwhile, the Heat were razor sharp, especially this guy. We saw this evolution, Grant Long, through the playoffs. What we saw, signs of this during the regular season, which, tended to be downgraded by Heat fans because the Heat weren't particularly sharp in the regular season and had some hideous losses towards the end when they really needed to come on to, solidify a better spot in the playoffs and avoid the play-in. But people wouldn't have known Caleb Martin from Steve Martin before the finals. And this guy was great last night, and it was indicative of the kind of play that he's sort of displayed, throughout. He could have easily been named the MVP of that final series. How did this come about, in your opinion? And what do you think? I mean, is this guy, just capitalizing on some good fortune at a big moment, or is he destined to be some kind of star in this league?
He will be a star. I think when you talk about a player seizing the opportunity and the moment, he certainly was able to do that. And obviously, there's 4 more games to win, but they don't win that game without his impact. And I said that all season long, all series long throughout this playoff, that's what makes the Miami Heat. It's not simply Jimmy Butler going out and being special every night. It's the fact that he empowers those other guys to do what they do. And if there's a moment that Jimmy needs to be special, then they can. Here's the biggest difference, and I'm not getting away from Caleb Martin, but here's the biggest difference in Jimmy Butler is that the Heat can win a game when Jimmy has 16 or 17 points. The Celtics in this series, they're not going to win, or rather the Celtics can lose even when their 2 superstars get 20-plus points each. If they get 30-plus points each, they can still lose. The Heat can win without Jimmy Butler getting 35 points. They can still win if he gets 17 or 18. And I think that proves the point that this is a team that everybody's empowered offensively. You're not going to just stop Jimmy Butler and slow the Miami Heat down.
I always love these kind of stories. Duncan Robinson gets a boatload of money by anybody's standard. Certainly, there are guys making whopping salaries now in the NBA that make that look like chump change. But still, it's like $50 million commitment or something to a guy. And it was, a long shot to even be in the league. He established himself as, a very accurate 3-point shooter, very valuable. People, frowned on his efforts at the defensive end, seemed to be a little clumsy there. Almost, like, who was it? Jaja Pagula, whatever.
Jaja Pachulia, yeah.
Pachulia coming out on Kawhi Leonard, kind of a zombie wandering around, is buried. I mean, done, out of the rotation. He doesn't even get off the bench. It was a DNP CD for a lot of the games this year. And then all of a sudden, at a moment of truth, he comes back. It would have been easy to sulk and hang your head. I guess, the $50 million probably helped, ease the pain. But you don't see that often where a guy is that deeply buried on an NBA roster, after having some success, and then comes back and becomes a valuable component of what now could be a championship run.
Well, don't you ever think that wasn't a calculated move. It wasn't one of those things from Eric Spoelstra where he said, I'm going to take a chance on Duncan Robinson. Believe me, he had been practicing and having some very good practices where the ball was going through the hoop. He looked back, or he looked to be in some type of rhythm during these practices. And that's what Coach Spoelstra said, you know what, I'm going to give him an opportunity tonight. It wasn't one of those, let me just draw straws here and let me put Duncan Robinson in the game. He had proven at that point, at somewhere along the line in practice during this postseason, that he was going to be an impact player, that he was going to be able to contribute to the game. And that's why Spoke put him in the ball game. And certainly he came in and did what we come to expect from him, and that is shoot the ball and make shots. Yep, he had been falling off, wasn't accurate at some point during the season, but a lot of shooters are that way, just like batters go through their slump. Slow recognized something that was in him in this situation, gave him an opportunity, and he took complete advantage of it. And once again, and I've heard this before since LeBron James had left the Miami Heat, that it may be one of Coach Spoelstra's best coaching jobs. This certainly has to rank right up there.
Oh, no doubt.
Best coaching jobs.
I mean, they were dead in the water. They were losing to Chicago in the fourth quarter of the second play-in game. This is another bout that they, staved off infamy. They would have been the first team ever to, it was only a short period of time, 4 years, but the first team ever to not make the postseason after qualifying in the top 8. And, then they come back and beat Milwaukee handily, knock off the Knicks in what seemed to be more of an even matchup for them, and then beat the Celtics, who everybody in the world, we were saying, I think it was unanimous. I don't know where you stood on Game 7 last night, Grant Long, but going into the game, I mean, Lubie, he had a vial that contained, several cyanide caps, and he was gargling with like embalming fluid before the game, thinking the Heat were dead. They're getting 7.5 points from the bookies. Charles Barkley is screaming. I mean, that's another thing. You have some insight into the NBA. I don't know if you have any insight into this in particular, but is FanDuel just giving Barkley a free pass on all of his bets? Because he is trying to bury America with his picks. he was all over the Celtics, as was just about everybody thought that they were going to win that. All right. What chance in this matchup? I mean, we're watching Denver. They knocked off, and I'm not sure. You see more probably of the East than the West, with the Pistons, of course. They knock off the T-Wolves, the Suns, and the Lakers. And they do it very efficiently, 12-3 en route to this position here in the finals. Great offense to watch. I mean, fun, if you're an old school guy like me that likes seeing Bill Bradley coming off of picks and shooting jumpers, off a feed from the Pearl, you like watching this kind of offense play. It's not quite what Golden State's was years ago in terms of symmetry, but very entertaining and fundamental basketball. What chance do you give the Heat against the Denver Nuggets, who obviously have a big advantage there, playing in Denver and having potentially 4 of the 7 games there?
Well, the Denver Nuggets, their offense, we talked about Curry, who can get going and get 30 in a quarter, 40 in a game, and then have the support of Jokic. That's what's going to be the task for the Miami.
Did we lose Grant? There he is. I think kind of have Grant going in and out here a little bit. Lubie, what do you think?
Now we got to go all the way through here.
There you go. Should we try to reconnect? Yeah, let's try to reconnect.
I hear you now, but we can call you right back.
Okay, all right. All right, let's give it a shot. We'll call Grant Long back, see if we can get a better connection there. But always great insight from Grant Long. It's still stunning, to think about. I mean, how loud was that clanking all over the city of Boston from that array of bricks? Every shot that went up from the Celtics, you thought, my God, how far off can you possibly be at a game, that is as crucial as this, where, you should be holding all the cards. Oh, you got Grant back? Okay, very good. Grant, we're losing you there. I don't know if you went into one of those tunnels or anything, but we're glad to have you back. You were saying. Lost it again?
I was saying, guys.
There we go.
Hello, you there? Well, I was saying that you got to limit those big impact games, those big outbursts of scoring from the Joker. And if you recall, during the postseason, he had a 50-point game, he had a 40-point game, I believe. It's going to be difficult, but you've got to limit that type of explosive offense from this team. The other guys, and I'll go back to this original point. The Miami Heat have more guys who are accustomed to having 17, 18, 20-plus points in a game. Denver Nuggets have 2 guys, possibly 3, who can get you those big numbers. But the other guys, they're not accustomed to having a 19 or a 20-point outing. So this is where the Miami Heat, again, have another advantage that they have to spread the wealth offensively, let everybody impact the game, and not rely on just 2 guys to have big numbers. Continue with this concept of playing team basketball, and I think they have an outstanding opportunity to win. It's going to be a lot determining on, coming up this first game, because I know the Miami Heat, they've got to be spent emotionally after playing that game 7, and now they have to travel to Denver and get ready to play. But if I know this team, and I've watched them all season long, mentally they're going to be ready. They're going to be ready, and they understand how big this game could be if they could grab the first one. And then it's going to be a huge game.
Well, and we've seen that work both ways, where the team that gets all the rest comes in with a little ring rust and plays a lousy game 1.
Yep.
We've seen a team that just was emotionally spent playing, a 7-game series where it looked like they were going to, stamp themselves, as we said, in an infamous category and become the first team out of 151 to blow a 3-game lead. Ending a Cinderella story in disaster. But we've seen that team come out and be razor sharp because they were just, coming out of being in rhythm and playing. So it'll be, obviously very interesting to see the way that transpires. Yeah, go ahead.
And another dynamic that we have to consider is that the Miami Heat is the lowest scoring team, maybe one of the lowest scoring teams in the NBA. So now you really put a lot of emphasis on your defense. If you're not going to score a lot of points, you got to put a lot of emphasis on your defense to really slow down Denver Nuggets, like I said, who could be a powerful offensive unit. So if the Heat are not going to score a bunch of points, boy, defense becomes a huge factor. And listen, we haven't said defense is a huge factor in the NBA in a long time since this three-point shooting took over. But in this series, defense is really going to be of paramount importance.
It's funny, there was an evening the other day, which was rare, since we've had all these playoff games in both hockey and in basketball. And now with 2 local teams going to the finals as 8 seeds, impossible to even conceive of. But I was watching, some episode on ESPN of The Last Dance, which, naturally everybody was fascinated with that whole thing, even if it was a little bit staged in Michael Jordan's favor, to make him look good. But, and he should look good, right? I mean, the guy was a great player and, obviously iconic sports figure. But the scores of those games were ridiculous. I mean, it was like, look at that. Chicago takes a 78-76 victory here. And you're like, what? That's a halftime score now. I mean, the underplayers were getting absolutely, buried in recent NBA history. And, back then that was a margin for error. So how would you defend? I mean, I know Jimmy Butler mastered it. And was he watching tapes of your days with the Miami Heat, Grant Long, the double head fake and double up fake? Jimmy's the master of that, but the Celtics seem to, actually, make a conscious effort to stay down on those in a couple of games when they made the comeback. And, it forced Butler to dish the ball off eventually, and he wasn't getting to the stripe as much. How do you defend Jimmy Butler if you're the Denver Nuggets? Is there somebody you would assign to him? Or, what kind of committee do you assemble there to try and keep him in check?
Well, I think certainly you have it's obvious that you have a primary defender, but you also have what I think you would have a rover or a secondary defender who is ready to come double team in the event that Jimmy gets hot. But that's the thing about Jimmy, that he goes along and plays the pace of the game where everybody else is impacted. Believe me, that's calculated on his part, that he doesn't want to get going too bad or get going too fast, because that means he's not going to be able to contribute. They're going to double team him. So he recognizes that the more his teammates can contribute, the better off it'll be for him to have open opportunities to go one-on-one with his opportunities. And I think that's why it's important early on throughout the series that everybody plays their game. Everybody takes their shots that are available. Don't turn down any shots. Be ready to be aggressive offensively, because that certainly helps Jimmy Butler. Now, if I'm the Denver Nuggets, like I said, I want to have someone in his face every time. And believe me, they're taking notes to stay down on his pump fake. But that's difficult to do, especially when a guy who is doing the pump fake can make shots. It's different if it was like a guy that can't make shots. Yeah, you're going to stay down on the pump fake because you know he wants to get to the basket. Well, that's not the case with Jimmy. He can actually shoot. So he offers up a pump fake. Sometimes you might just go for it because the guy can shoot.
Yeah, I would be going for it every time. What are you talking about, Grant? I mean, I would look like spaghetti against this guy with those fakes. They're great. And we see that move used more and more where, almost everybody has the initial up fake, whether they're just going to stand there and chuck the three or not. All right, a prediction on the series. Unfortunately, we did remind people that you had the Lakers in Boston in the finals. What we also tended to be dead wrong all throughout the postseason. The only series I thought the Heat would win was that Knicks series, and especially after this devastating blow in Game 6, you thought, wow. I mean, they literally have, more than 1 foot in the grave there trying to go to Boston and close it out. So what do you think? What's going to happen? Denver versus Miami?
I think I'm going to go out on a limb here and say the Heat win the first game in Denver.
Wow. All right.
I think they take the first game in Denver because they're playing with some momentum. I know they're dilapidated probably in their mental approach, but their psyche, because they gave everything, they're drained mentally. But I think they take game one because they know the importance of it. Remember, a series is never over until a team wins a game on the road. And
Sure.
This is the game, I believe, that the Miami Heat, they're coming in with some momentum. They're not coming in off of a loss. They're coming in off of a win, a big win, where they won by double digits, I believe. That's a huge win.
21 points
So
last night.
they're coming in full of confidence, and this is a game that they understand. Believe me, on that plane ride there, somebody mentioned, hey, we've got a lot of work ahead of us, guys. Celebrations starting tonight, but it's over tonight as well, and let's start getting our mind right to play Denver. So these guys are going to come into this game. I would not be surprised if Miami wins the first game.
All right, and Tyler Hero, possibility he comes back. I guess he might have been listed as questionable for last night's game. Did not play. Looking kind of funky with the floppy hat there on the sideline. Some Heat fans are saying, well, geez, hey, we're better off without this guy. I don't know that that's the case. I'm not really a subscriber to that theory, but, because, we've seen, I mean, Duncan Robinson maybe doesn't play any minutes, if Tyler Hero's there, because he was kind of, maybe even the 7th, 8th guy under consideration. Last thing, right. I mean, what do you think Hero would mean if he came into the series?
I think it only adds to the offensive punch. You need another guy, especially with the Miami Heat. They are proven to be a good three-point shooting team. Tyler Hero adds another dimension, another level to their three-point shooting. If he can get going, if he's healthy enough to play and accurate enough when he shoots, that certainly helps and will impact the game.
All right, sounds good. Grant, thanks so much for your time. Always a pleasure, my friend. I hope to talk to you throughout. I don't know how long they stretch out the finals. I guess we got Thursday and Sunday.
That's 2 days every game, and then I think on the road they miss another. They stretch it out like 3 weeks. They don't mess around.
Well, my birthday is July 5th. I turned 72. Well, I see the end of the series by then. Maybe that'll be the day the Heat wrap it up at 7. But thanks so much. Always a pleasure, my friend. Hope to talk to you again real soon.
All right, guys. Talk to you later.
Thanks, Grant.
All right, thanks a lot. Grant Long, ladies and gentlemen.
Yesterday, we gave you Ethan Skolnick, a guy that has covered the Heat for years, worked with the Heat, along the Heat, side of the Heat, know the Heat very well. They know him very well. Really as insightful when it comes to the Miami Heat, as you all know here, as anyone. Today, we bring you a guy who played in the Miami Heat, was a part of the Miami Heat locker room, played on the Miami Heat floor for a long time, playing the NBA a long time. Grant Long. He did say Lakers Celtics, but he's also been one guy that has given the Heat credit throughout this year as, they struggled, but watch out for the Heat. Well, they're now in the NBA Finals. Again, like many of us, he's leaning Nuggets, but he's been around that Heat culture, was there before there was a definitive Heat culture, and says you can't count out the Heat. And that's where I am with this series. To me, it's going to take a Herculean effort from Butler. It's going to take a Bam, who's great defensively, but can help on offense. And I'd love to see Tyler Hero just get out there and help in some way. It's going to be very interesting. We are 1 day away from the NBA Finals, and we'll talk a lot more about that tomorrow morning right here. We do Defo on 5 every day on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Check us out on our own morning show, the Defo Show with Lubie, on South Florida Live. Please, we'd love to have you subscribe to that. You also get Mike Mayo's Lunchbox each and every day there. So we talk a lot of food, all of South Florida. We cover Broward, Dade, Palm Beach County. Great places to go eat with you, your loved ones, friends. You want to check out? That's a fun show. Mike Mayo's Lunchbox on South Florida Live YouTube channel. And you can check us out on our national podcast, The Believe Network, BLEAV.com. Search After Hours. And lots of days with our South Florida skewed content. The Defo Show with Lubie on the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
Play the ponies in style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar, and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.